Like I said.
It's pie throat.
No, I don't eat the pies.
Okay, it's sausage roll throat. That'll learn you to eat the sausage rolls. Yeah. Sorry, I'm meant to be looking at levels.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, they'll do.
Listen carefully to the sound of my voice.
I am listening carefully to the sound of your voice.
Start the episode.
I shall start the episode.
Colin had a problem and a microphone to spare. Thomas took it up and so the podcast went to air. For weeks and months they trolled through every single DVD. They've unwrapped all the ones they can and now they're cellulose free. Now they're cellulose free.
Hello dear listener and welcome to Cellulose Free. My name is Colin and with me as always is my fellow film watcher, compadre and son Thomas.
Hi, hello.
What have you been up to?
Oh, just receiving terrible news.
What?
Yeah.
What terrible news have you received?
Oh, I've received the news that my mobile phone provider is making drastic and terrible changes to my service.
No, they're working hard to improve and better serve you.
By reducing my terms from $30 for 183 days to $30 for 30 days, which is, you know, over the course of the original length, a 6x increase, isn't it?
Yes it is.
For a service that I don't use all that much.
Which was why we chose that particular plan. I mean, even though it was $30 for 183 days, it basically allowed you 10 days of use during that time.
Well, 15.
Or 15, because it's gone up yes. So 15 uses, which worked fine because that didn't mean you could only go out of the house 15 times. It just meant that you had that security that in case you did need to call, you could.
If I wanted to use data, and if I'm going out I probably do want to use data, the option is there. And dear listener, I live a sad life. I don't really go out more than 15 times in a 6-month period.
He's a hermit. We're all hermits, basically, although I have not been a hermit lately.
No.
But it's not my turn to talk.
And I'm pretty sure that SMS and calling didn't actually reduce the amount of credit that I had.
Oh, didn't it?
For domestic, anyway.
Oh, I thought it did. I thought basically as soon as you did anything...
No. If I connected to data, then it would absolutely tick down immediately. But
right. I thought it was like $2 if you just used text or calling, and $3 if you... soon as you...
No, it was $2 for 500 megabytes of data.
Well, there we go. Anyway, we're going to have to work out something for you.
To a maximum of 2 uses per day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, well, I don't think I quite get $180 worth of value out of it every 6 months, so...
No.
Perhaps not spending that much.
No, it is somewhat of a jump. And what is bizarre is that is in no way, shape or form the cheapest offering that this service provider does offer. So, it's crazy.
People in Singapore will make the choices they make, I suppose.
They will. We'll find something.
Yeah. Dear listener, as you might guess from my statement that I don't get out much, I haven't been up to much either. Yeah.
Well.
What about you?
I've been on lots of walks, so I have been out quite a bit. I've been pushing myself to get a sweat up, basically. Yep. I have quite a podge that I'm trying to get rid of, and it seems to be slowly working. It's that weighing up of doing all that exercise and then coming home and being confronted by meat pies and sausage rolls. But I've always, from the outset, I've been dieting in such a way that is quite within the limits, as long as I don't keep stuffing my face. So I've been slowly whittling away the weight, which has been good. So I take my camera with me to take photos. And I was probably about 3 kilometres into my walk and stopped to take a photo and grabbed my camera and went to take the lens cap off, and there was no lens cap.
Oh dear.
Yeah, so I was mentally retracing my steps as to when I last used the camera, and it was about 2 kilometres back. And then I thought, okay, about 1 kilometre back, I know I took my backpack off and sat it on a park bench and grabbed something out of it. So it might have come off there. So that's where I'm going to have to head, at least. And if I don't find it there, I'll have to keep going back to at least another kilometre. And so I turned around, and 20 metres up the path on my return, there on the ground is my lens cap. It's one of those things that you can very easily get a replacement for, but bang for your buck, lens cap wise, it was the cap that belonged to the lens for a start, which the Aspie side of me says, oh, that cap has to go with that lens, and having a cap that fits but isn't the cap that goes to that lens, sort of, yeah. But 20 metres after turning around, it's there on the path, a path which I have, in that 20 metres, passed 3 people on, and so I was very grateful that no one had stepped on it. So that was my drama for the day.
Right.
And yeah, it was a bit overcast and a bit plain photograph-wise, but it's more a case of I take my camera, and if I see something, I'll take a photo of it, rather than I'm going on a walk to take photos. Other than that, I watched part 1 of the last of the Mission Impossible films. I don't know where you're up to with those, did we?
I'm just looking for a moment to watch that one. Yes.
Yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was well and truly what I was hoping for. Mm-hmm. The dialogue was terrible, it was cliched, and the suspension of disbelief was quite often fairly high. But it was a rip-snorter of a film. Just absolute great fun, and didn't take itself too seriously. It was just what I needed on that particular day, so that was good.
Yeah.
Speaking of films...
Yes.
I don't have anything else I really want to talk about during the week, so we may as well get stuck into a rip-snorter of a film that Thomas has selected. Mm-hmm. Or not. We're about to find out whether it is a rip-snorter of a film.
ABC News did their whole redesign, and I sort of appreciate the elements on their own. The visual design is, it's all right. It's modern and flat, and maybe I could do with slightly less rounded corners and slightly less different rounded corners. And the music just... I mean, I know that a lot of people have nostalgia for the, 85?
Yeah, I think
theme?
They made an 85.
Which, lasted for a couple of decades, but they reconstructed the recording from the original tapes, and it sure does sound like it came from the original tapes.
Why they did not get one of the orchestras to just get into a studio for a couple of hours and just jam out a new recording of it, I don't know.
You set up symphony orchestras in every capital city, and then you set them free, and now you don't use them. Why? Why would you do that?
It's beyond me, yes. The new management has been doing all sorts of things that have been odd in places and annoying in places. And
genuinely, I think the theme would be fine if they just re-recorded it.
Yeah.
Maybe spruce up the arrangement a little.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
No. Oh well.
And so I'm left missing what we just had.
You're mourning for your childhood.
Which, frankly, would have fit just as well with these new graphics as the old graphics.
Yeah.
So, anyway, film.
Film.
Yes. We are still watching Escape from the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, do we have to? Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's still happening.
It's still happening.
Yep.
On Disney Plus.
Yep.
1971.
Yes.
And Raven did ask what it's about, and I didn't want to give too much away, and then got confused by asking, does it come after the last... Well, it can't come after the last one because the planet blew up.
They blew it all up.
Yeah.
Every last bit of it.
Yes. So my memory is somewhat vague as to how they proceed, so I guess we're going to find out.
Yes.
Can you please tell our dear listener a brief plot synopsis, which will be exceedingly brief if you're going to use the Disney plot synopsis?
Which one do I want to use? The short one or the slightly longer one?
I'll go for the expurgated one.
A trio of super-intelligent apes from the future creates paranoia amongst 20th century humans.
That's what we're going to watch. Thomas is going to switch on the television. Well, that's a lie. I'm going to switch on everything.
Yeah.
Thomas might turn on the subwoofer, except it's probably in mono.
No, we've got 5.1.
There's a 5.1,
Yeah.
is there? Wow. We're going to watch it, then we're going to come back and talk about it. So we shall catch you on the flip side.
Turn to side B, and then back to side A, and then stay on side A.
All this time travel shenanigans. It's a mongrel, I tell you. Mongrel. So what did you think?
It's really not that bad.
No, it's far, far better than the second one.
Yeah, it is a fairly generic, strange other people arrive in a place and are driven out.
Yes.
Film.
It's certainly a lot less cringeworthy than the second one. I mean, that's not hard, but it does tell a story, and it tells it reasonably well. There's a good mix of humour, a good mix of pathos, and the acting is fine.
Yeah.
The whole third chimpanzee that you felt right from the start was not long for this world.
It's not a good start when... There's a link on the Wikipedia page for Escape from the Planet of the Apes for the character Dr. Milo, which redirects to another page, which is a listing of characters from Planet of the Apes films, which Dr. Milo does not feature on.
Good.
Yeah.
Huh. Hey, but at least a baby chimp got named after him.
Yeah. He arrives with our leads and provides a philosophical foil to Zero, and then he dies.
Yeah. Spoilers, everyone, for a 1971 film that was set in 1973.
Yeah.
For some reason. I guess the reason is because it was 2 years after the launch, which was technically set in the future of the making of the film, the first film. Yeah.
So we're now
Wibbly-wobbly,
in the future's past's future.
That's right.
Yes.
Good. Certainly there were some predictabilities going on there, and that's fine. What do you do? Well, one of the things they did was they got Jerry Goldsmith back.
Yeah.
And it's interesting the progress that the 70s, the early 70s has to the type of deal happening with the soundtrack. It was a lot less experimental compared to his first foray into the world of the Planet of the Apes. But there were also callbacks, I guess, to that original, but with a more contemporary 70s theme going on there.
I just keep giggling at the start of these films at 20th century Fox, because this was back in the time when they were happy for anyone to know that 20th century and Fox were once separate companies.
Yeah. 20th what? What is that? It's Disney, isn't it? It's all Disney. Everything's Disney. Everything's coming up Disney.
Everything is not coming up Disney right now.
No. Just as an aside, I read that The Acolyte, there will be no second season.
No.
I have not watched the last episode of that.
All of their big branching properties, they're like, maybe we scale back just a little bit.
Yes, I do think, going completely off on a tangent here, it reminds me very heavily of the Roman Empire, where they expanded, and then it all went terribly, terribly wrong.
So, hang on, what's going on over there? I know I own that bit, but what's happening there?
The Visigoths.
Oh dear.
The natives are revolting. Oh, I know. Yes. I don't know what else to say about it. I did not even write a note other than Jerry Goldsmith in my notes, which does not actually it was an entirely watchable film. An entirely watchable 70s film.
Yeah.
And actually, in saying that, it was very well paced for a 70s film. I did not, from recollection, feel any tedium in the pacing there.
I'm led to believe that things go downhill from here. But I will see this through.
I think your beliefs are fairly accurate. And I'm just trying to remember how it all works out as far as when the one-season TV series comes into things.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
I would have been, what would I have been? Probably 9 or 10? So, 78, 77, 78? Or maybe earlier than that.
74.
74, okay. Yeah, because I was thinking, no, I'm sure it was before Star Wars. So 74. Wow, I was only 6, but I was probably 7 when it came out here, because I used to catch snippets of it when I could, especially when I went to my grandmother's place. She'd let me watch it. And other than that being my actual first experience with the Planet of the Apes, because I hadn't watched any of the films, but I did watch at least 1 or 2 or 3 of the TV series. Very, very popular in primary school. There was the masks and everyone was making chimpanzee noises. Yeah, but I have absolutely no recollection of the 4th and 5th movie, other than I know that I've seen them. They are on the shelf, and I believe that I watched them right through in quick succession. So,
well, I can assure you, we will get to them.
Yes. There's certainly some keenness happening there with Raven. Raven's very keen to see this progress and improve, and anyway, we did also note that the latest reimagining has come out on Disney+.
I don't think we actually checked to make sure that it was correct, but I'm pretty sure they know what they're talking about.
Yep.
Yeah. All 2 hours and 26 minutes of it.
Well, I'm not sure we're going to be able to pull that off as a movie night movie. I think by the stage that we'd watched the second of the reboot, Daniel was the only one who was watching by that stage, and we haven't watched the third.
Well, if you're looking for something confusing and not the same, there's always the 45-minute National Geographic documentary Kingdom of the Apes, Battle Lines.
Oh dear. Is that made by, what's the name of the studio that makes...
No, it's a documentary.
I know.
And it's from 2017.
The Warehouse? No,
The Asylum.
The Asylum, that's it. Hey, look, they could even tie the name of their production company in. The Asylum of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're stalling for time
except
here.
They'd have to use a different word for apes, I think. Yeah.
Monkeys. Yeah, just to tick everyone off.
Asylum of the World of the Monkeys.
We get back to the monkeys. Or monkey, depending on which. Anyway, I think we've dragged out enough of this from this film.
Yeah.
Certainly a lot more bearable than I was fearing or could remember or not remember. I would even say, yeah, worth a look.
Yeah.
I would completely skip the second movie, except it sort of makes the third movie make a little more sense.
Just take things said in the film as allusions to things that you didn't see.
That's right. Yeah. We shall move on.
The following segment has no title. Thank you.
We will start over on Facebook with Nathan,
Hi, Nathan.
who says that The Iron Giant is a great movie.
It is. Nathan being the person who put me onto the film in the first place, and he actually made this comment not on the Cellulose-free Facebook page, but when I posted it on my own page. Yes.
Yeah.
So he's now got to convince his wife to watch it.
Yeah.
Iron Giant, love it. Cool.
Also on Facebook, Helen.
Hi, Helen.
See, the trouble with a 44-minute episode and the associated 44-minute walk is that all the witty comments that cross my mind as I walk are forgotten by the time I get to the end of the walk.
Don't think you're going to have that problem this episode.
Kids have been going up against the government since War Games and E.T., and half the Children's Film Foundation films of the 1970s.
Ah, the good old Children's Film Foundation. For those dear listeners who are unfamiliar with it, with our vast array of American listeners, the British, for a great deal of time, had a really, really good kids' film production company. Their movies tended to be on the short side. Mm-hmm. In fact, the very first movie that I have any recollection of going to see, I went to see with my mother, was a Children's Film Foundation film from 1971, and it was only 54 minutes long, and it was the Johnstown Monster. In a quiet Irish village, a group of enterprising youngsters make a model of the legendary monster supposedly residing in the bottom of the local loch, in the hope of attracting tourism and prosperity to the village. And all I remember is this homemade monster in the water, and just the thrill of being in a cinema. It was just kind of wild.
And then there was the Australian Children's Television Foundation, which produced all sorts of stuff, and produces somewhat less now, because apparently there's not a lot of money in children's television, since all the advertising was told to sod off.
Yeah. It's a struggle and a battle.
Yeah. All you're really getting for children's television is from the ABC, and they import half their stuff.
Yeah. So. We have just had our local television awards night. Mm-hmm. And there was one production from Netflix, an Indigenous film making station, and all the other nominations for Best Children's Show were from the ABC, which is the government.
Including BBC co-production Bluey, which has been massively successful.
Yeah.
And about the only massively successful children's television production to come out of Australia in some time. I would say.
Look, certainly when you were growing up, and it was, I think, possibly before you even remember it, there was a golden age where I would have the TV on and there would be some great shows coming out of Western Australia and South Australia on some of the commercial stations. Really creative plot lines and live action. This was all live action, sort of science fiction, kids science fiction, and yeah, we put out some really good stuff, but then suddenly a lot of it had to do with quotas. They were required to make a certain amount, and the stipulations for those were a lot stricter than what they are now, rather than the import from somewhere else and put a wrapper around it with an intro from an Australian compere and an outro from said compere, and there we go, it's now Australian content.
And there's still points in the quotas for children's television, but there's no money in it. So.
Anyway.
And there is one more comment on here that I consider of dubious provenance. And so I'm going to let you handle it.
What? Which one? Oh, okay. Over on the Film Watchers BBS...
I didn't know that we were advertising on a bulletin board system. But
I figured, look, we need to get our reach out there. Bolin, interesting name, said, I love you guys and think you have lots of fascinating things to say about films, especially Colin, who definitely knows a lot about a lot of things. Thanks, Bolin. And thanks for listening, and thanks for contributing to the episode. And
you'll have to send me a link to that BBS.
It's www.filmwatchers.bbs.com.ch, I think it was.
Right. It's Swiss, then.
CH?
Yes, CH.
Anyway... For all of those contributors, real or imaginary, we thank you for your contributions. But beforehand, before we go any further,
we have a guess.
We do have a guess for last week's Iron Giant movie.
We have an whole guess.
One whole guess. So there is a 50-50 chance here that Helen will either get it right or get it wrong.
That's not how probability works.
Okay.
Helen says, after saying that things become forgotten after a long episode, let me get my guess out of the way before I forget what movie you were talking about.
Okay.
I shall go with Iron Giant. Which is like Iron Brew, but not as fizzy.
Have you tried Iron Brew?
I have not.
Okay. It is a Scottish soft drink. And I actually went through my photo record on Google Photos. I had my first and last can of Iron Brew on the 11th of October 2021.
Right.
I paid $2.20 for the can, and now you pay $2.70. So it's gone up 50 cents in the last 3 years.
Yep.
Imported from Scotland.
Yep.
And I think it's an acquired taste. I was expecting it to be a lot sweeter, actually, than... Certainly the colour suggests that this is going to be really sickly sweet, but it ain't got nothing on Dr. Pepper. Yeah, I could take it or leave it. I don't know whether I'll ever have a can of it again. Give me sarsaparilla any day.
It's going to be difficult to compete with the drink designed to evoke the feeling of a soda fountain.
Yeah. And it's interesting that the Dr. Pepper that we get in Australia imported, we actually import it from the UK.
Right.
Yeah, because the version that we import from the UK is manufactured in the UK rather than the US, which is where you would think that we would be importing it from. And I suspect that the ingredients are different because I don't think the UK uses corn syrup. Anyway...
All of which is to say that...
it's not Iron Brew. The guess would be incorrect if Helen had guessed Iron Brew.
But Iron Giant, I-R-N Giant, is correct.
It is. You get an arbitrary point.
You do?
Yeah. And in fact, we're going to give you an extra arbitrary point because of being the only guesser, because I cannot believe that after all those compliments from Bolin did not make a suggestion, because I suspect Bolin would have felt a little insider knowledge thing happening there.
Yeah.
Okay. Please, dear listener, make contributions. Today's episode was Escape from the Planet of the Apes. I'm going to show Thomas what monstrosity I created for such a long title.
Woof.
Yeah, woof.
Yeah.
Buckley's, I think.
That does feel Buckley's. That's not to say that we're discouraging contributions.
No. Again, I reiterate that it's what comes out of my head as I'm rushing to create a file name just before we start. It's not designed to confuse or befuddle or try to trick you. It's just what happens.
And whether it confuses or befuddles is just a side effect.
A side effect, that's right. All right.
Yeah, any sort of contributions, movie suggestions, file name guesses, all of that in all of the usual places.
Yep.
And apparently on bulletin board systems.
That's right. Find a random bulletin board system that's still running. And
don't know that I'm going to find it there.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd have to point me to it from somewhere that I'm actually looking.
Uh-huh.
And at that point, you might as well just say your piece there, but anyway.
Anyway, let's move on.
Yes.
Pick a film for next week so we can go to bed.
It is your turn.
It is my turn, and I have had, sitting on my calendar, choose this particular movie for next week.
Right.
So I'm guessing way back in the dark mists of time, I have suddenly had a film spring to mind and worked out, right, that's my next turn at the end of things. I'll add this to it. And I don't know particularly why, but I'm going to stick with it anyway.
Uh-huh.
I do believe it is not a film that you have watched.
Right.
It does star Christian Bale.
Okay.
And Matthew McConaughey.
Right.
And Gerard Butler.
Uh-huh.
Among other people.
They are all men in films.
Yes. Okay, so this is the plot synopsis. Buzz in when you've guessed it. In post-apocalyptic England, an American volunteer and a British survivor team up to fight off a brood of fire-breathing dragons, seeking to return to global dominance after centuries of rest underground. The Brit, leading a clan of survivors to hunt down the king of the dragons, has much at stake. His mother was killed by a dragon, but his love is still alive.
I got nothing.
It is not streaming on anywhere that I can find.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, you could rent it for $8.99 on Fetch.
Right.
Or you could buy it on Apple TV for $11.99.
Right.
Same price Amazon and same price Microsoft.
Right.
All in HD.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to watch it on DVD.
Right.
The film is called Reign of Fire.
Great. That could mean anything.
That is what we're watching next week. I'm not sure how this is going to go. It may well be as successful as last week's episode. We hope that you can join us. But until then, we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
You have been listening to Cellulose Free. Your hosts were Colin, who produces and edits the show, and Thomas, who makes the artwork and music. Cellulose Free is recorded in the Deranged Cat Studios in scenic Tasmania, Australia. We keep track of our extensive physical media collection through My Movies, which we highly recommend. You can find links to that, as well as other places you can find us in the show notes. Cellulose Free is a Hi Hello production.
Bye-bye.
This is definitely a film that we have on our shelf.
It
yes?
is, yes. That's why we're going to watch it on DVD.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And I have watched it.
Right.
Yeah. So there we go. Anyway, I'm stopping.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough.
So we're now in the future's past's future.